Hey, my friends, good evening. How are you? There it comes. Once again, my friends, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Live with me, Mike Avery, here in my home office, my home studio, middle of the week. Wouldn't be Wednesday without Wednesday Night Live, would it? Cliff is along with us. Hello, Sean. The Outdoor Conquest. How are you? Otto. Linda. I got a mic tonight, don't I, Linda? Look it's actually hooked up. Hello, Mad Jack. Jeff. Craig, buddy, how are you? Dan, nice to have you along with us on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. When it appears my camera's working, my mic is working, all is right in the world tonight. Hello, Uncle Johnny, how are you? He's watching the parade of machines coming back in off the ice here in Linwood. It's quite a sight, isn't it? I mean, the walleye fishery on Saginaw Bay this winter is really something. And the number of people that are out there on machines and sleds and quads taking advantage of it. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Ruben, checking in from Colorado. How are you, buddy? Hello, Jim. Nice to have you along with us as well. I do not recognize this. WRSCJS74. Good evening. How are you? Tim Binns. Tim, everything's working tonight. Audio's working. Video's working. Last week, it's funny. I made a last-minute change last week, and my mic quit working. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I went to record some audio for a spot that I was doing midweek. Well, a couple days ago. This is midweek. And I didn't have any audio. I'm like, what is going wrong? And I looked up, and the mic right here was disconnected. And you could clearly see it in the video from Wednesday Night Live. But now we got it working. Rabbit Homesteading, good evening. How are you, buddy? Linda, it was actually pretty cool to be on the ice. Haven't been on the ice on Saginaw Bay in a long, long time. And to be out there, I'm just checking something here. I'm checking my framing. I don't see it. Anyway, it was nice to be out on the ice. Roger Stauffer. Hello, Roger. Good evening, buddy. How are you? How have you been? Yeah, I was on the ice. I was on the ice of Saginaw Bay Sunday. If only you'd been there, Tim. If only you had been here instead of at Bible study. Although I commend you for being at Bible study. Anyway, my friends, for those of you who do not know what is going on here, my name is Mike Avery. This is Wednesday Night Live. I'm here in my home studio tonight. Not doing too much of anything special, just glad to have you along with us. Hey, Kim, how are you? My sister-in-law, Kimmy. Tommy. Always a pleasure, buddy. Tommy's got a big bird in his profile picture. You know, I'm starting to get pretty excited about turkey season, too. I mean, it's going to be a little while, but it's coming. The days are getting longer. Did Punxsutawney Phil see his shadow? Thank you, Kimmy. You have a great one as well. Bernie, how you doing, buddy? Regardless of what Punxsutawney Phil saw, it's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. We know that. Unless there's some big, huge, miraculous change in the weather patterns. But I, meteorologist Mike Avery, do not see that coming. Oh, something I talked about this morning. I had a great trip on the ice, Brian. It was really pretty cool. Out there with my son James and his buddy Mike Smith of Offshore Account. Really, really nice trip. Tommy says he's very excited for turkey season. So am I. Turkey season and open water trolling, as fun as it was to be on the ice, and it was fun, it's not something I will seek out on a regular basis, but it was fun. As long as you go with somebody who's got the equipment, the sleds, the machines. Tim, good evening. Dan, how are you? Dustin, thank you, buddy. Hey, Tim, how far do you live from Lost Arrow? Pretty close, I'm thinking. Used to do some work with Lost Arrow. Groundhog stew at the local bar. Congrats to everybody involved in the Black Lake chapter of Sturgeon for Tomorrow. Their Sturgeon Chivalry was a big success. And 17 minutes the season lasted. They speared 7 fish in 17 minutes. It was the shortest season ever. Linda, do we remember what the Farmer's Almanac said about the winner? We had a fat bottom Betty riding on it. We'll have to change that. No, I don't remember Farmer's Almanac. And yes, you're right. I haven't had a fat bottom Betty since October 26th. And I'm jonesing. Long road trips have been the hardest so far. I think I've kind of gotten through those. But fishing and on the golf course are going to be the next two challenges. Randy, good evening, buddy. Tim's 15 miles from you. Okay. I thought you were pretty close. Tim tried fishing Lake St. Helena out in about 4 hours, got 2 small ones. John says, John works at Jay's Sporting Goods. I expect to see you come into Jay's to buy ice fishing gear now. Just kidding. Yeah, I've got all the ice fishing gear I need. I have warm clothes. The other guys will take care of the other stuff. Jason, good evening. Deep water ice fishing rack. Yeah, 21 feet of water. That's farther. That's deeper than we ever go in the summertime, isn't it, Tony? Tony, I'll see you in a couple of weeks at Calvary Baptist in Midland. I've got the Calvary Baptist event in Midland on the 22nd. And then there's something on the 20, let's see. And then the following weekend, 22nd, that's right. And then the following weekend is March 1st, which is our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. Tickets still available. We will sell out. And then the week after that, I am scheduled to speak at the MUCC convention in Gaylord at Treetops. Bill says, stay strong on the smoking, have a maker's mark. I'm going to have a maker's mark as soon as I get off the air tonight. Now, last summer, what I would do as soon as I would get done, I'd go in the patio, light up a fat bottom Betty, have a fat bottom Betty and a maker's mark. Can't take everything away from a guy, right? It's all for a good cause. If you weren't with me this morning, I was telling the story about being out on the ice of Saginaw Bay. We actually got checked by a game warden, Chris, out of Tuscola County. I haven't been checked by a conservation officer, game warden, CO in years and years and years. It was nice to see it. They swooped down on us, and I'm just joking here. They had 4 guys on matching sleds and matching uniforms. So we kind of knew it was the game wardens. We got nothing to hide. And they came over and shot the breeze. They never even asked me for my fishing license. I know for a fact, though, from being a VCO years ago, volunteer conservation officer, when you walk up on somebody, when you pull up in the boat, when you peek your head in their shanty, you can pretty much tell if they've got something going on or not. You can pretty much tell, Scott Brown, you pretty much know if somebody is being straight with you or not. Cliff, I spent some time last week with my brother small game hunting, first time in years. Bet that was fun, Cliff. Christopher, WSGW, thank you, Chris. Doug says, listening during his workout, so much fun. I just got done with mine, Doug. I just got off the treadmill. Look at this. Thumbs up, right? Got off the treadmill. Even though I was in the studio today, I got my 10,000 steps in today. And watched Gladiator 2 on the big screen in front of me while I was walking. that it really helps to have something. I love to walk on outside, but I'm not going to walk outside right now while it's icy. So if I'm going to walk inside, I want to have something on the TV in front of me, a good TV show or a series or a movie or something, and that really does help. So I did a little bit of that, a little bit of arms, try to get these little scrawny arms into some kind of shape. And so have fun in your workout. Scott Brown, I've heard some stories about those guys. Those freaking game wardens. Anybody who knows me knows I'm kidding. They will look ill. It's like people, unless you're a hardcore criminal or you're have some kind of mental disease, most people can't hide it when they're doing something wrong. Mad Jack was out there. Mad Jack, you said you were out there Sunday too, right? He stopped by us, chatted as well, a very nice young feller. All of the law enforcement people look like young fellers at this point, don't they? I see state troopers on the side of the road, and the kids, I mean, they look to me like they're in high school. I know they're not. But they all look pretty young. But law enforcement is pretty much a young man's game. That's why guys like Scott got out of it. I mean, it's, you got to be a young guy to do it. How does it feel to catch a walleye on a short rod, a bit different than your typical fishing rod? It felt great. I understand the appeal of catching walleye through the ice. Nothing like having that rod in your hand when a fish bites. Nothing like it. And I really enjoyed it. I caught, 4 or 5 fish and missed a couple of others. It was a riot. I love it. I don't love it enough to become a hardcore ice fisherman. I'm not going to go out and buy a sled. I'm not going to go out and buy a shanty. Scott says, anytime someone is fishing on the ice or the water and they see someone coming directly at them, it's probably the game warden. Freaking wardens. Again, I'm just kidding. I actually thanked Chris. I thanked him for doing, I thank you for what you do. And then right after he left, we started to catch fish. So in my mind, it's like the game warden brought us luck. Now, it just so happens that right after he left, it was like the sun hit the treetops. So it was time for the fish to start biting. So I couldn't remember Chris's last name, and I didn't know how to get in touch with him. So I got in touch with the lieutenant in the district who I know and said, look, here's the situation. I'd like to send this guy an email and send him a picture saying he brought us luck. So he gave me Chris's email. I emailed him, said, hey, thank you for bringing us the good luck. John, how many guys did you get out there? How many did you get out there? I think I landed 5 and I missed 2. Fire while on the weight machine. Love that. Forged in Fire while on the weight machine. Love that show. Walleye on a 2-foot stick. Feels excellent. I love jigging the river for walleye. I love it. I absolutely love it. I am a troller at heart. I really am. Just cover so much more water. He did reply to the email. He sent me back a very canned response. He said it was typical young game warden. Sir, it was my pleasure to protect the resource and to check you that night. Good fishing to you. Mike Smith of Offshore Account. Mike is the guy, the charter captain, the fishing guide that I went out with. Now, I went out an invitation from my son, James, who is good friends of Mike. I'm actually a friend of Mike's now, too. And Mike, Tony, Skinny Water Rat, Tony, this guy on here right now, Mike Smith of Offshore Account, he loves the skinny water too, and he is a darn good fisherman. So if I'm struggling and you're on the water, Tony, I'm calling you and I'm calling Mike. Anyway, Mike also runs ice charters and a really good guy. 34 for the group that night. He said, 34 fish is a pretty good night when you got, I don't know, what, we have 7 guys out there, Mike, probably 7-ish. And it was one of those nights where the fish were active and aggressive. When you saw them come in on the electronics, They oftentimes were coming in to bite. They were coming in to bite your lure. Pretty good. James, I got checked one midnight. I've been checked at night ever. Snuck up, scared the heck out of you. Game wardens are really good at scaring people and sneaking. Game wardens can see in the dark, and they have superpowers. Just ask them, sir. You get it, right, Scott? I mean, and look, I get it. I see this in all young law enforcement people. They want to do such a good job, but they're a little bit uptight, and that's the environment that they work in. You get a guy, a trooper, a deputy, city cop, a game warden who's been out there 10 years or so. They chill out a little bit, but those young guys are pretty formal, and I get it. That's just the way it is. I'm glad you made it here tonight too, Craig. How did you like your fish finder? Tommy, when I was first out there, they set me up with a flasher, and I think that was a Markham. And it was perfect. It was great. I was very happy with it. And then Mike came and sat in the same shanty with me, and he brought his Garmin. What is the top end forward facing Garmin? Put that in front of us. Holy cow. You could literally see fish swimming into your baits, turning and swimming away. It was pretty crazy. Bernie says a very mild winter at my place so far. No snow to speak of. I hope I'm not jinxing myself. Bernie, I thought you lived the same place I do. Kimmy says, I've been wearing yak tracks when walking Martha, real icy here in the yard. Yeah, Kimmy, I won't walk in the wintertime if it's icy or snowy at all without creepers, ice creepers. In fact, I had them on the bay the other day and actually lost them. So I've got to go get some more ice creepers because I love to walk outside, but I will not walk outside when it's icy. I'm too old and too big to fall gracefully. Yeah, you get a hold of them, and then I'll call you to get the scoop. Well, Mad Jack, that'll work too. Right there's Randy, another guy, another skinny water guy. Although Randy does a lot of poaching in my skinny water. He poaches, and then he goes out to deep water. When the CO gives you that respect, they deserve the same respect back. I couldn't agree with you more, Linda. Couldn't agree with you more. My dad was a police officer for 35 years. When I was younger, all of my friends were law enforcement. I was a VCO for several years, volunteer conservation officer. So I get it. I get the law enforcement mentality. You get back from them in most cases what you give them. Live scope. Thank you, Mike. Live scope. Pretty freaking sweet. I've never seen a piece of electronics like that while I was fishing. I mean, honestly, it would be a game changer. I don't know about a trolling situation. There's probably a way to use it, and I know there is. But in a jigging situation or a casting situation, I mean, you see your bait coming down. You see yourself jigging the bait. You see the fish coming in to look at it. You see him hit it. You see you bring the fish up to the surface. It is unbelievable. Now, they're not cheap, but if you do that type of fishing, I think it'd be worth it. Brent, good evening, buddy. I'm looking forward, Brent, to seeing you and Tracy at our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction, which is Saturday, March 1st. More on that later. The Garmin LSV 34 Live Scope. Tommy says, I consider getting one of the live scopes. Folks, if you can afford it, because I think they're like $2,000 right now, they will come down. If you can get one, it's a game changer. Myself, I will wait probably for a few more generations until they do come down more, and I don't doubt that I will have one on the Angler Quest. Right now, I'm still trying to figure out how to use side scan. Evening, Dave. How are you? Tim says they're catching smelt on Higgins. Pretty cool. I have a question for you. I could have looked this up, but I forgot. Tim Binns, or one of my other researchers, Tim, would you look up the World Ice Fishing Championship? Was that last weekend, or is that this weekend coming up on Tamarack Lake near Lakeview? Evening, Randy. How are you? John says many guys are using it for trolling, casting, back bouncing. Randy says, "Oh yeah, I poached your water, and skinny water's hot." Um, yes, Greg, absolutely, and believe me, and I think maybe this came across wrong. I was not criticizing a young officer. It's like a young everything, you know. It's like a young TV guy. It's like a young radio guy. When you're new, everything is extraordinarily important. Not that it's not when you're older, but you're so worried about doing things right and doing things correctly that you get very tense and a little bit uptight. And you see it in the law enforcement community. Coming from the law enforcement community, young men and women are always a little on edge. It takes them a few years for them to break in. They just don't have the fine-tuned people skills yet. And that's one thing I've noticed with veteran police officers. You talk about people who have people skills, people who can read somebody, who can read a group, a crowd, people who can talk a bad situation down. You look at a veteran law enforcement officer. Good deal, Dave. So it's this weekend coming up, the 11th through the 16th. Excellent. Thank you, Tim Benz. There'll be a little something in your check this week. Jim, I've got bow mounted downriggers now. I can actually see fish hooked up with my old Garmin. I'll probably upgrade the spring, be able to see how the fish react. I'm waiting for Doug Ward. John, good evening, Mike. Will there be another Mike Avery Expo in the future? No, I learned my lesson here, John. The first one we did about 6 or 7 years ago in West Branch at the West Branch Conference Center, the Forward Corporation West Branch Conference Center. We hit it just right. And it was a huge success. The place was packed. It was standing room only. But Mother Nature wasn't cooperating. There wasn't ice. It was a perfect storm, and people came to our outing, or to our expo, the 2-day expo. And I thought, you know what? This is easy. We've got this figured out. We've got this dialed in. We'll do another one. Second year, it was a flop. And that really scared me because 9 was on it. It's called the Mike Avery Outdoor Expo. I didn't want to have another flop, so we canned that. About 4 years ago, probably, WSGW wanted to do an outdoor expo, and they wanted to put my name on it. I said, I don't know. They wanted to do it in September. I said, not a good plan. They did it in September anyway. I was part of it, and it was a flop. I'm not doing that again. I'll stick to my Wednesday night lives, which end up being pretty good. Doug says he runs forward-facing sonar while trolling and watch it while bouncing a jig out the back or watch your inside rods. It's a riot. Even your dipsies and riggers on the salmon side, too. World's coolest video game for sure. What I saw of it, it's unbelievable. Maybe Mr. Angler Quest, Brad Dupuy, are you listening? Maybe the 2025 Pro Troll 8526 that I will be running this summer. Maybe come with forward-facing sonar. I'm just putting that out in the universe. Kevin, good evening, buddy. How are you? Brent, another former law enforcement officer, de-escalation is much better than fighting. Absolutely. And that's one thing, the old cops, right? The old cops, they don't want to fight. They don't want to fight. They want to go home. They just want to go home. They want to do their job, protect people, do the right thing, and go home to their family. They don't want to fight. Craig says, oh, yes, indeed. Our friend Brent is a perfect example. Craig, do you know Brent? And do I know you? I mean, I know you from on here. Do I know you in person? If so, I apologize for not picking up on this till right now. Gene, good evening. How are you? It was a great show in West Branch. Great show. Not as much fun. My dad used to tell stories when he was a young cop. And when he was a young cop, it was back in the 60s. And the world was a little different then. And some of the things that the world was just different back then. A Humminbird Super 60 depth sounder, we thought we were the stuff. You were at the time. Remember the paper graphs? I had an Eagle which was I think that if I remember right, the Eagle was the cheaper version of the Lowrance, an Eagle 9500, and it was sweet. Couldn't do anything compared to what these will do today. Okay, I've really been getting off the track here tonight. 17-minute sturgeon season. I talked about fishing on Saginaw Bay. Thank you, Mike Smith. That was a wonderful trip. And just me real quickly on this. I think that these guys who are running ice charters on Saginaw Bay are doing a very valuable service. If you don't have your own gear, if you don't have a sled, if you don't know what you're doing, but you want to just experience it, go out with a fishing guide, a charter captain. They've got the gear, they've got the equipment, they've got the knowledge, they've got the experience. They will get you out there safely and they will get you back. As an alternative, if you have your own gear and you have your own sled, but you're not familiar with Saginaw Bay, you're not a veteran Saginaw Bay ice angler, and you're a little bit hinky, which is a smart thing to be. Saginaw Bay is not inherently dangerous, but it can be dangerous. You got to know what you're doing. So for like $100 a trip, these guys will allow people to follow them out. So you take your own sled, your own gear, but what happens is you get out there safely. They put you in an area that has been a hot bite, and then you follow them back in. So it's like a safety net. So if you're listening from, if you live, say, on the west side of the state and you say, I got to try the Saginaw Bay walleye fishing. I got the gear, but I don't know where to start. Give Mike Smith a call. Give Jason Graham at Linwood Beach a call and get out with those guys. But I didn't, Doug. I didn't win the Pure Michigan hunt. I didn't. I'm looking forward to seeing that Pro Troll too. Yes, I know, Brent, and we've only met at our after church restaurant once. I know where you mean. Were you working, Craig? Ice charters are a great idea. Okay, Mike's got to go. He said, anytime, Mike, have a great night off to prep for the next 4 days on the ice. See, and that's just it. Mike Smith now is going to go spend hours getting his machines and equipment and gear ready for the next 4 days of ice fishing. So you as customers, as clients, can go out and have a good time and be safe. By the way, Mike is on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this week. Shelley says, absolutely. She lives by the bay and she hears that chopper go over way too often. Zach said, just got eyes tonight in the bay. Does that mean you're watching the bay, eyes on, or does that mean you were out there fishing and got walleye on the bay tonight? Patrick, need to find a new restaurant farther south of West Branch so you can rotate Wednesday night lives. Here's the deal on this, Patrick, because I've had a lot of restaurants who want in on the Wednesday night live. They really want in on it because it's a moneymaker for them, because I bring people in. I feel like the Wednesday night live in the field concept is too valuable to just give it away. And I'm not about to go to a restaurant and say, for X amount of money, I will do a Wednesday night live here. I don't work that way. Now, when Dixie Dave had his restaurant, I was more than happy to have Wednesday night lives there because Dave is my friend and we've had a 30-year relationship. It just made sense. It just makes sense to do one at the Forward Corporation Lumberjack restaurant because I have a relationship with Forward. I'll be honest with you. The guy who owns the restaurant where Dave is cooking now wants me to come in and do a Wednesday night live, and I won't do it. So I've got to have a really, really, really good reason to do a Wednesday night live at a restaurant. I can't just give them away. Not that I make any money on them. I don't make a dime on them, but we sure have a good time, don't we? Please do, Craig. And people say, I didn't want to interrupt you. I don't want to interrupt your family time. And I get that. And I respect that. And I appreciate that. But I'm telling anybody on here tonight, if you see me out and about somewhere, and it's not like I'm easy to hide, when you see me, you'll know it's me. Come on up and say hi. introduce yourself, let's shake hands and shoot the breeze for a second. But Craig, I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, let me tell you who is on the show this week. Oh, I got some other things to talk about too. Let's do this first. You see this thing right here? That's the official flyer for the Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction, Saturday, March 1st at the Great Hall in Midland. Doors open at 4:30, dinner at 6. We will sell out. We sell out every year. Every year, we will sell out. You can scan that QR code. I think there's a website on there you can go to as well. You can send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I'll put you in touch with the right people. It's going to be a good event. It is a wonderful event. It's a great event because we have great fellowship. We have great people there. The food is great. Guns. Fishing trips. Hunting trips. 50-50, wine pull, bourbon pull, you name it. Some of the auction items. Now, we have a live auction and a silent auction. You have to be there in person to do the live auction. The silent auction we will kick off, I think, in 2 weeks here on Wednesday Night Live. Some of our different auction items: an African safari, courtesy of Craig Plowman; an Illinois whitetail hunt, courtesy of Craig Plowman; a shoulder mount, courtesy of Scott Keatsman at Linwood Taxidermy; a Michigan bear hunt, courtesy of Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer; guns, a Rapid River knife, Wraith blinds; a coyote hunt from Matt Schock; a truck trolley from Andy Weiss; 3 different youth hunts; a day of walleye fishing with me on Saginaw Bay. And if you're generous enough, we might do 2 of them. A Linwood Beach launch pass. It's just going to be a great night. Get your tickets. There's Johnny right there. The Bear Whisperer. So love to have you there. Please join us. Well, yeah, the truck kind of gives me away too. Yeah. When this is this 3rd truck now that I've had that wrap on. And when it first got done, I got home and I told my wife, I said, I think it's too much. And she said, well, what do you want to do with it? I said, well, I want people to notice it. She said, well, then you were a success because people are going to notice it. Maybe a Wednesday Night Live charity event at a restaurant that might be on board with that. Not a Wednesday Night Live. No, I'm involved in several charities and love to work with charities, but Wednesday Night Live, no, it's special. Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer, 35 days straight at work. Winter can leave. Johnny, I told you, if you don't like winter, all you got to do is become a troll and move below the bridge with the rest of us. That's all you got to do. Hey, Mike, how are you? Tony says, so if I come up behind you and say skinny water rat, you'll know who it is. Tony, I'll know who it is anyway. Johnny Bowler is going to be there at the Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. It'll be your chance to meet Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. Okay, I started to tell you who's on the radio show this week, and I got sidetracked because I sidetracked myself. Steve Griffin is my first guest this week. Steve is a very well-known outdoor writer. He talks about the basics of ice fishing, getting started in ice fishing, and not necessarily using all the high-tech tools and equipment that I was able to use Sunday on Saginaw Bay. Then Ben Nielsen of Showspan talks about the upcoming Outdoor Rama show, which is February 20th to the 23rd. By the way, the big Grand Rapids show, this is the 80th anniversary of the show. That is March 13th through the 16th. In the second hour, Mike Smith, who is on here with us of Offshore Account, we talk about Saginaw Bay walleye. We talk about the tools. We talk about the high-tech stuff and just the ins and outs. And he's a great guy. And it was a great conversation. Then Steve Wyndham of MUCC joins me to talk about some of the things they have coming up, including he's talking about summertime's events, the second annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing to benefit MUCC's Youth Camp. The Ask Avery question is a 3-for. I'll come back to it. Then in hour number 3, Jason Herbert talks about the search for shed whitetail antlers, and we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. Johnny says, I can't for 8 years. I don't know what you mean, Johnny. Oh, you can't retire for 8 more years. Gotcha. Hello, Kevin. How are you? Randy, what do you think of the Black Lake sturgeon fishing lasting only 17 minutes? I think they should have canceled it for one more year. Why? Why should they have canceled it? The ice was great. Help me out, Randy. What am I missing here? Why should they have canceled the Black Lake sturgeon fishing for another year? Last year it was canceled because of lack of ice. This year it was a great event. Mike, the car hauler, was one of them. That's not his real name, but his real name is Mike. Mike's heading over there. No, I heard. But what do you mean, Randy? I'm not understanding what you're saying, and I do want to understand what you're saying. Okay, so the questions this week. Any information on the golf outing? Too early, except for this, Mike or Adam. It is Friday, July 25th at the West Branch Country Club, obviously in West Branch. What we want to do this year, last year we had 108 golfers. This year we want to fill it with 144. That's the goal, and I'm quite sure we will. So it's too early to talk about getting signed up, but just put Friday, July 25th on your calendar. That is the second annual Mikey Re Outdoors Charity Golf Wedding. It is. It's always a short season, but this year broke all records at 17 minutes. Ross Elliott, my good friend, how are you? Randy said they only allowed 4 fish. No, they were allowed 7 fish. And they got all 7 in 17 minutes. Okay, this week's Ask Avery segment. The questions, there's 3 of them. Number 1 was, there's a new thing out there called a snow dog, which you kind of stand behind and it can pull you through the snow or over the ice. If you use it ice fishing or whatever, does it have to be registered as an ORV or a snow machine? Checking with the DNR, the answer is no, it does not have to be registered. Second question, and it's a 3 for this week. Avery, I know you're a big fan of the Pure Michigan Hunt, even though you never win it. Where does the money go generated by the Pure Michigan Hunt? People apply $5, and of course, you don't get your money back. I checked with the DNR. All of that money goes into hunting and fishing. I want to give you the correct words here. I think the Fish and Game Fund, but I want to give you the exact correct words. It's the Fish and Game Fund where all license fees go, and it's eligible for matching funds through Pittman Robertson. And the third question was, hey, what happened to your quest to increase the number of rods for trolling anglers on the Great Lakes? Did you give up on it? No, I haven't given up on it. It's still out there. Still some work being done behind the scenes, but it's time to bring that to the forefront again. So those are the 3 questions. Ross is working on the new house. Congrats on that new house. The goal of the Black Lake season is to harvest 5. Well, then why did they let them harvest 7? Because it happened so fast they couldn't stop them? Is that what it was, Tim? Larry says the snow dogs do look great, or the track thing you walk behind or tow a sled thing. And you don't have to register them. Got to make myself a note here. It's interesting. I have next week's show already filled up. In fact, I got so many people lined up for next week, I'm not even going to be able to fit them in. Captain Mark Pananzak of Real Fishing. Good evening, Mark. How are you, buddy? I see you were out on the ice. Did you see I was? Did you ever think you'd see me on the ice of Saginaw Bay? It hasn't happened in probably, I was trying to think of this, 25 years? But it was fun. Good question, John. Not yet. Can we write to anyone with support for the rod idea? Not yet. The last idea that was being floated was, okay, let each angler on the boat have an additional 3 rods or whatever it was. But it's a boat license. The captain of the boat for $25 would buy a license which would allow you to run more rods. It is, Mark. It's like a miracle. What, that I was out there, or that you were out there? Linda says, this winter Mike's on the ice. This summer Crawler's in his boat. let's not get carried away. Okay? Let's not get carried away. I say, and this is half joking, okay? I say if you have to resort to crawlers to catch fish, got to go, John. Company coming, like Ross used to say. Except Ross's company is now always there, isn't it, Ross? Good for you. Good for you, buddy. Please, again, the Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. We've had a lot of support from people on this page here right now. Greg Plowman has been outstanding. I appreciate that, buddy. It's a great event for it. Listen, the money on this event goes to help out my church. I don't own it, but I am a member at Trinity Monitor Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod, at Salzburg and 8 Mile in Bay County. And the church has been there like 140 years. And we've got a school that's been there 60, 70 years. And they're both wonderful, but you know, there are costs involved in keeping things running in good shape. So it's a fundraiser. A lot of that money will go for the kids in our school as well. Randy says, I can't even see crawlers on my boat. I have had crawlers on my boat. I have had crawlers on my boat. It's been a while. Bernie, that's the point. And I agree with you completely. If the fish are being protected because of a size limit, and on Saginaw Bay right now it's 13 inches. That's not much of a size limit, but 13 inches, and a daily creel limit of 8 fish. So once you get 8 fish of 13 inches or more, you're done. What could it possibly matter how many rods you use to get to that limit? It doesn't. It doesn't make any difference at all. I would like to see all of these stupid, antiquated fish and game laws that are out there gone. Now, obviously, there are some good fish and game laws. You can't spotlight a buck after dark or a deer, right? That makes sense. But why can you not lean your shotgun against the tailgate when you come in for lunch, bird hunting? Uncased gun in a motor vehicle. That's crazy. Linda says it is a beautiful classic church. It is. It is the German settlers who built that thing that settled into this area here were craftsmen. I've been involved in some projects in the church. One of them, we had to run some cabling, and I had to drill from the balcony down below to run a cable through there. And I swear it was like 2.5 feet of solid wood. Larry, when deer hunting, you should not be allowed to have more than 3 guns. See, that's just it, Tim. There will be a pragmatic and a practical limit to the number of rods you can run based on your skill, the size of your boat, and your experience. Somebody running a 14-foot boat who is new to fishing probably only run 2 or 3 on one side. You know, there's going to come a point when you just can't run anymore. It was great. It was great. Oh my goodness, gee gracious, look what time it is. Today's been a good day. The radio show was great. I did a podcast, the Offshore Tackle Podcast, with Jason Graham of Linwood Beach Marina, talking about ice fishing and open water trolling. Check that out, please. I think you'll enjoy it. You know what that means, right? It means Wednesday Night Live is over. My name is Mike Avery. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't forget about the Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. Saturday, March 1st. Get your tickets now. We will sell out. And put Friday, July 25th on your summertime calendar to help us raise money for MUCC's youth camp. Always a pleasure, my friends. It's an honor to have you along with us. I appreciate your support. Have a wonderful night.